Tonight, I'm supposed to be shooting my intros and whatnot, but I've got like every excuse not to do the video tonight. I got a sore throat. It's like 95 degrees out, and now it's gonna rain, which is gonna screw up all the audio, but
it's a pretty big radar right there.
Master Lord, a game of chess is like a sword fight. You must think first, before you move.
I did this thing a couple months ago, and it's a concept from Tim Ferris, who is one of my favorite authors, podcasters, and he wrote a book that almost got me fired a few years back called The 4-Hour Work Week. Recently, he did a TED Talk, and he talked about this concept of fear setting.
It's intended to help you overcome, or at least analyze the fears you have so that you can take important steps in different directions. Start new projects, end projects, start relationships, end relationships. Make those very seemingly difficult decisions for which there is no good timing. Fear setting is what it's called. If you want the full exercise, you can go to tim.blog/TED. I also gave a TED Talk about this, so you'll see in video. There are 4 million plus views at this point, and also in text, exactly all the details for how to do this.
I really like what he says about writing down the consequences of inaction. A lot of times we think about what'll happen if we do something, but I love that he talked about what happens if you don't do something. I thought it'd be fun tonight to go through some of those things that I wrote down a couple months ago that I'm most afraid of when it comes to making my own content and pursuing some of these ideas around makers and misfits. So the idea is that you have 3 columns, and the first column is define and list the worst that could happen. So I put down here, what if I started building makers and misfits? And so you define, you list the things that could happen. And then in the second column, you write down, how could I prevent those above bad things from happening? And then if those bad things happen, how, in the third column, how could I repair those? The first one about list the worst things that could happen. Number 1, lost time. Number 2, I could lose focus on other things. Number 3, I'll sound like an idiot. Number 4, nobody will listen. Number 5, I don't have anything to say. Number 6, I'll run out of ideas. Number 7, I'll get burnt out. Number 8, I'm scared of what people will think. Number 9, I won't make any money. And number 10, I just put that I'll quit my job and have no money. In the next column, I put down there, how do we prevent each of those things? So to prevent lost time, build a calendar and a schedule. And that's why I love this idea of coming out here on Wednesday nights and making these. Number 2, my fear was that I would lose focus on other things. So after building the calendar, stick to it. And that kind of carries over into my job. So it's like, I know that if I want to dedicate Wednesday nights to getting this done, I need to make sure that I get everything I need to get done at work done first so that I can dedicate time to this. Number 3, I'll sound like an idiot. So I put down, get over yourself. Number 4, nobody will listen. So I put down, how do I prevent that? Ask people to listen. So hey, will you subscribe? Because then I will know if people are listening. Leave a comment, I'll know people are listening. Send me a message, I'll know people are listening. Number 5, I don't have anything to say. Well, work at it harder. Writing takes time. It took me a really long time to become a writer at my job, and it took me a really long time to be able to start writing things like this. I use my notes app, and that seems to work well, and then I do speech to text a lot in the notes app on my phone, and that has been pretty great. Number 6, I put down, I'll run out of ideas, and then how do I prevent that? I just put down bullshit. Number 7, I'll get burnout. And then I put, to prevent that, stick to the calendar. I think when you stick to a calendar, you'll prevent that burnout. Tonight's a great example of, I would have much rather watched like Peaky Blinders on Netflix than be out here in the hot, sweaty, gross garage trying to get this done, talking to a camera. I won't make any money. So number 9, I put build a plan to make money. All right, so here's the deal. I am been sick all weekend, and I am editing this on Tuesday night. It's like 11 o'clock, and I forgot on camera to read number 8, which is I'm scared of what people will think and how I can prevent that. I just put another bullshit. And then number 10, I will quit my job and have no money, and then I just put oh well. Tim Ferris goes on in the TED Talk and he asks what might be the benefits of an attempt or even partial success. And so number 1, I put creative freedom. I'm finding a lot of freedom in doing these videos, and I'm finding a lot of freedom in just even talking about it, and it's bringing me a lot of joy. Number 2, helping myself by helping others. Based on the comments that you guys have left and the DMs that you've sent me, I feel like it's helping encourage other people, and so that's pretty great. Number 3, I'll find satisfaction, which is already happening. Number 4, keeping the demons distracted. I always joke, I go to the Y and I say to Sarah, I'm like, I'm heading to the Y, I'm gonna sweat out the demons. And for me, those are just my inner dialogue of talking myself out of things or believing the insecurities that I have. And so by making this stuff, it is a big distraction, and it doesn't allow for much idle time, which is really good for me, I think. Number 5, I put my kids will watch me build something instead of just me going to work in the morning, coming home, watching Netflix. Watching Netflix for a living. And there's now a cricket in here. Number 6, building relationships. What's so cool about this is it's given me like a big excuse to talk to people more. People that are in my circle of friends are wondering what's happening, and I'm asking them for help, which I'll get to in a minute about some upcoming things that are pretty cool. Number 7, I'm learning about myself. Number 8, I think this will advance my career. I make content for a living, and so to understand YouTube a little bit more and understand the algorithm helps me when I'm with a client pitching an idea for more video content. Number 9, it might lead to extra income. And number 10, unlocking something that I'm passionate about. That's what's been kind of missing from my life, is something that brings me joy and brings satisfaction. I find that in work often when I'm on a shoot and I'm helping a client solve a problem, but this is really unlocking some different things that I didn't know were inside of me. So this is probably the best part of this whole fear setting, and that's listing out the cost of inaction. And in the 6 months, it says list the costs of inaction during this time. Number 1, regret. Number 2, feeling trapped. Number 3, depression. Number 4, self-doubt. Number 5, continued mental anguish. 1 year from now, number 1, regret. Number 2, regret. Number 3, regret. Number 4, regret. Number 5, regret. So when I sat down a couple of months ago to do some of this fear setting, it was kind of weird and it was kind of like annoying. And then when I got to the end of it, it was like, well, duh, I need to get going and I need to start because the cost of inaction, it was too high for me. And then it's like interesting because fast forward to some of the comments that I'm gonna read on the first video that I shot a few weeks ago. Cheryl says, so needed this encouragement. And then a buddy of mine, Sam, he says, I've dreamt of starting a social enterprise for years. What stops me? Opportunity costs. In choosing that I have to say no to other things, some important, some not. Also, I always struggle to start new things because there's so many unknowns and those scare me. I look forward to seeing more. Joel said, perfect timing. We're acting on change now. Are you still in Rockford, by the way? I am, Joel. Benji says, I was scared for so long because of the financial pressure and I might want to have the perfect steps to take. But then I launched, quote, Courage Climbs this week and I'm climbing Kilimanjaro in 2020. No more waiting. Way to go, Benji. Chad says, I was scrolling and the first thing I thought was why was Corbin posting a video about Billy Bob Thornton? I thought you looked just like him. Okay, well. Doug sent me a message that read, thank you so much. And then he said this awesome quote. I don't know where he got it from. Doug, let me know where you got it from. Squander is the enemy. Sarah said, I too can relate to being paralyzed by perfection. Maybe I just needed a new perspective. And Luke said, before launching my business, I kept waiting for my website to be perfect and my ideas to be perfect, when all along I should have just launched months ago and just learned as I go. So what are you waiting for? It's much easier to do nothing, but I think it's a lot harder to live with regret. I've watched some of that pay off lately, and I keep coming back to that quote by Elizabeth Gilbert that says, creativity is the engine of resilience. And I feel like I'm just getting that engine going, and I know there'll be setbacks. Tonight was a frustrating night to try to even get this done, so I'm not naive to think that there won't be any obstacles. There's a lot of momentum already, and I've got a few guests that I've booked. I don't know how I'm going to accomplish it technically out here, but in the next few weeks, you're going to see some of my friends coming out and talking about all sorts of things, what it means to start, what it means to be creative. And my first guest is going to bring some great insight to the table, and she and I are going to talk about what it's like to be married to a creative person. And my first guest, I'm really excited, is going to be my wife, Sarah. So be looking for that in the next week or so. It's going to be a good one. I've got a collaboration worked out with some of my friends. Colin Gregory's going to come out here. He's a filmmaker friend of mine, and he's going to make this look awesome with the lights I have, and we're going to record that process, but then I'm going to sit down with him and talk about the challenges of being a filmmaker and how the industry is changing and how we have to adapt as filmmakers. So that's going to be a good one. My buddy Caleb Pike, who's a full-time YouTuber, has agreed to come out and talk about him starting a YouTube channel from scratch. And he's at about 400,000 subscribers, and I had beers with him the other night, and I'm really excited about having him out to the garage to talk about the challenges and the opportunities that he has seen by creating content on YouTube. And so that's where we're going to start with the Makers and Misfits. We're going to have people come out and have a conversation, and I'm not sure if it's going to be long format, short format, but I'm really excited to have the conversations. So I want to encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, because that's going to be the best way to know when a new video comes out. And then follow me on the grams for some infrequent behind the scenes.